welcome to a Novel Console Patreon special episode. I forget what I call these. These are, let me open our Patreon because I haven't opened this in weeks. Oh, it's Games and Stuff. So it's Games and Stuff, and we're talking Resident Evil 4 Remake. And with me today is I want to say, what's the legendary word for cryptids? Like if it's a cryptid, but it's legendary. Anyways, it's Burger Chimp.
Is there a Pokemon term or something?
No, I got cryptids in the brain from the other project that I'm working on, so I gotta take a break from that. So, Champ, how are you doing? Welcome back.
Good to be here. Excited to talk about this game.
Yes, I am very excited that we both finished it at the same time, and we're fresh off of the game. You finished it last night, correct?
Yeah. No, 2 nights ago. Last night I barely played anything because I was having withdrawals. So,
you're having Resident Evil withdrawals?
Yeah. My kid was playing, messing around in Dreams on PlayStation, like just checking out games in Dreams. We played a couple puzzle games, but I was just like, I don't feel like playing anything because it's not Resident Evil 4 Remake.
Yeah, I can understand that. I finished it 2 nights ago, and then last night I started Kingdom Hearts. That was chosen by you guys, and
that's a backswing.
I was having fun with it for Kingdom Hearts, but then today when I got off of work, I was like, I don't have to record with Champ until 9:30, so I should play Kingdom Hearts. And then I'm thinking, wait, I need to finish Fire Emblem Engage for this other show. But I have to finish this other game for this other show, and I have to start this game for this other show. So I just sat on my phone the entire night and did absolutely nothing.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah. Fucking ignored everything and just screwed around between TikTok and the work Discord and all that shit. Not a fun night. I wasted it, honestly. So, Resident Evil 4 Remake was released about a week ago? Last Friday,
yeah. A week ago. Tomorrow.
Yes. Today is the 30th, so a week ago tomorrow, so March the 24th was released. And I all I have is praise for this game, dude. It is incredible. I had hopes that it would be awful, that it would be not great, because Remake 2 was a little bit weird and Remake 3 also didn't feel quite right. But this game, holy shit, wow. They did everything better.
Mm-hmm. I think that I have like very nitpicky criticisms, but overall I think it's better than the original in every way. I mean, I think it's maybe not even maybe. I think it's definitively the best game in the series now.
Yeah. So we're just gonna. I don't have any structure for this, so we're just gonna talk about everything and anything, and we might just go off on tangents. So no structure at all. It's just pure fucking chaos. So let's. We're gonna be super spoilery. So if you haven't finished the game and you care about the story, even though this game has been out for 15 years. The ending kind of sets up Resident Evil 5. Do you think that's going to happen?
I do, only because that's the best-selling game in the series, by a lot.
Really?
Yeah, but it's a lot the best-selling game in the series. I think it's where it picked up momentum, and I really would like to see what they do with a co-op game, especially if it's the same team working on that. The thing is, I played Resident Evil 5 co-op when I originally played it, and I had a great time with it. The story's kind of dumb. It is a little bit racially problematic, but the game is functionally solid. The controls work well. Like, everything feels like Resident Evil, just turned a little further up on the action than the horror. But everybody said that about Resident Evil 4, that it was more action than horror. And this remake keeps the same amount of action, but dials up the horror in really subtle ways that I think they could really elevate 5 if they incorporated some of the things they did with lighting in this one, some of the things they did with sound in this one, some of the things they did with the environment and things that you interact with in the environment. I really think, and the opportunities that they took in Resident Evil 4, where you're like, well, before it came out, everybody said, well, what is there to fix? But every time there was something that just was tweaked a little bit in this new one, my brain was just like, that's such a better idea than it was in the original. This was something that could be improved on and could be fixed. So I think 5, they could really do something. 6 is maybe beyond saving, but 5, they could really do something with.
Yeah, there's way too much going on in 6 I think it would be a massive undertaking for them to try to fix 6. But 5, I am hopeful that we will get 5. Thinking back on it, I don't remember hating anything about 5. I thought that game was perfect the way it was. Maybe, if anything, the El Gigante fight in the back of the Jeep was kind of stupid.
Yeah, I don't particularly generally like get on the mounted gun and I'll drive while you shoot levels in games in general. What 5 does, 5 is not as fun single player. I'll say it. It's not as fun single player.
Yeah, Sheva's dumb as a brick. That AI for her is terrible.
But multiplayer, there are a lot of good cooperative puzzles.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a lot of good co-op stuff to do in there, and the shooting's fun. The enemy types are fun. There are a lot of cool times where someone has to play Overwatch to another person's, while another person's doing things, and then it switches on you. I think 5, they could do some really interesting stuff with. What I'd actually like to see them do next is just like a big 4-player cooperative mercenaries mode with characters from the whole series. Like, have this team do like a big map horde mode style mercenaries mode that has like 4-player co-op where everybody can just get in there.
Yeah.
And
actually give us Resident Evil 4 gameplay, not whatever Operation Raccoon City or Raccoon Warriors fucking
don't try and make it
was.
One of those games where somebody's a monster and everyone else is a soldier. Don't try and make it a multiplayer versus thing. Just make a Left 4 Dead that's Resident Evil. Like, that's what we want.
Yep. With give us chainsaw people and the fucking boar pig cowhead dudes. Those were great. I really enjoyed every time that one of those cowhead dudes popped out.
Did you ever get attacked by an actual bull though?
I did not, but there was one section where you have to go back through that little farm right behind the village, and it was at night, and there was a bullhead dude, and he got trampled by a stampede of pigs and cows, and they actually killed him.
That happened to me. I didn't get killed, but a bull ran across the yard and gored me with his horns.
What?
Yeah, when I was fighting the very first bull dude, the bull ran out of the barn and jammed his horn through my belly and picked me up and threw me on the ground.
What the hell? That's crazy. Like, they went above and beyond with the crazy kills for Leon, and like anything is a fucking hazard in this game.
And all the hazards that are for you can be used against the enemies too. If you can get an enemy to walk into a bear trap and you kick them, their leg will stay in the bear trap.
Yeah,
it's wild. Like, there's so many little subtle things. Like, and now we're learning that you can shoot the bell and ignore the whole village fight. We're learning that you can use the sniper rifle to unlock doors with locks on them.
Yep.
Like, from the other side. Like, they put so many things in there as little secrets to figure out.
I saw today on TikTok that there's a bug right before the B. Torres Mendez fight, where if you clip into the mansion, you can find him waiting out of bounds in the game and kill him, and the fight doesn't happen. So
that's the kind of stuff you want.
Yeah, like they added so many little cool secrets and tricks and Easter eggs. I feel like a lot of the reason why people have fallen in love with this game and why it's selling so well, it's because what they did to this game feels like what games used to be when the original Resident Evil 4 came out. You know, you would go on GameFAQs and see all of these cheats and
Mm-hmm.
Easter eggs and stuff that you could do, and like people are finding all these crazy things that you can do in the game, and it's just it's great, man. It's really really great.
Yeah, I think. I mean, top to bottom, I think the characters are all better versions of themselves in this. Ashley is a completely different person
Mm-hmm.
that is so much better of a character in general. She's so much less helpless.
Yep.
She changes a lot throughout the game. One of the things that really made me laugh and was like just a subtle thing that I was like, that's great, is the first time that you have to have her hide in a locker. You're like, hide in here. And she looks at you and goes, what? She's like, okay. Like, she doesn't want to do it. But then later in the game, you ask her to hide in the locker, and she's like, got it. Go in the locker right now. You
Yep.
know? I feel like she didn't get left behind all the time. I feel like having the system where you just call her to you or tell her
Stay
to
back.
move away
Yep.
works really, really well. There are very few times where you don't have enough time to save her. I think having her incapacitated, functional, and being taken as her three phases is a much better, not having to deal with health or wasting healing items on her or anything like that.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really genius move.
Definitely. And like her character gave me those emotions that Clementine and Sam gave me
Mm-hmm.
from Sam from Eastward, where she's my daughter, I have to protect her the entire time. So
Mm-hmm.
like that one scene when they're going up the elevator near the end of the game, and she tells Leon, "Oh, we're a good team," and Leon's like, "Uh huh, sure, whatever you say." I was like, "Don't be rude, be nice." It's like, why are you being so
Mm-hmm.
rude to her?
Yeah, yeah. And I think they did a good job with I feel like Luis's character is written in a better way, and you actually his death means so much
Mm-hmm.
more in this version than it did in the first one.
Yeah.
Like you really don't want to lose him.
Yeah.
And they make him out to be much less of a who is this guy? Like you know exactly who he is. He's a scientist, he's researching, and he's genuinely trying to stop this.
Yeah.
You know.
Because in the original, you see him what 4 times before he dies, and like the fourth time is when he
Mm-hmm.
dies.
Yeah, he's dead before the mine shaft in the original, I think. And then
Yeah,
because he dies at the castle,
yeah,
but in this one,
he
you get
does.
to do the minecart level with him,
Yeah, which
which to me was like all the best parts of an Uncharted action sequence thrown into the minecart sequence. You know, like a cinematic style
yep.
minecart scene.
See that there was one part I didn't like about the minecart, and it's just me being picky, and it's that you kill all of these ganados and you know the chainsaw dude, and you don't get any items for it. You don't get like any treasures or anything. So that's just me being picky.
Yeah.
Because if I'm gonna put in the effort to kill a chainsaw dude, I want some sort of treasure.
And I feel like what they could have done is the more dudes that you kill, the better treasure you get at the end of the run. Like, because it's not feasible to have like treasure fly out of the cart, your cart or something like
Yeah.
that. But like, if you don't kill any dudes at all, then at the end you get crap treasure.
Yeah.
But if you kill everybody, at the end you get like something nice.
It's like
you know?
potentially the only thing that you can get in that scene is a trophy for not taking any damage, which is kind of fucking stupid.
Mhm.
It's like I really don't care about a trophy. I'm not gonna go through that effort for one copper trophy.
I really did think it was cool how they incorporated Chainsaw Dude into the minecart level because they made the stakes a lot higher. The Ganados went down in one shot, you know, but that chainsaw guy just kept coming right back at your
Yeah.
cart again.
I was unloading all of my bullets into his cart, trying to break it. And all I had to do was just shoot him once in the face and he would stumble and I could shoot into the cart. But no, I was like hammering the cart until it went off. It's like he actually killed me
Yeah.
once. He got the cart and killed us once.
So I think everything's done really well. I liked the changes to the boss fights. I liked that you could stealth kill a lot of the enemies and bosses and stuff. The Krauser fights were so much better than they were in the original.
Were they?
The first one for sure.
Ooh.
No QTE. I'm
Well,
okay with the knife fight.
Yeah, the knife, no QTEs at all was great. I think there was like one or two during fights where for you to dodge.
The second Krauser fight was pretty easy because I had a fully powered TMP, but I was glad that there wasn't as much of him doing the full shield thing, so you've got to find a way to get around him. The second one was much more similar to the original fight with just better mechanics because the knife is easier to use in this game than it is in 4.
Like having a
but the first Krauser fight was so much better.
Having a dedicated knife button to attack and to parry with was a big improvement. That I feel like that helped a lot with the gameplay, not having to pull it out and aim so that then you could use it and just actually hitting the button. That worked perfectly in the game for me. I by the point that I had the fight with Krauser, pretty much all of my weapons were completely leveled up damage wise. So I just took out the big fat shotgun that you get at the end.
Yeah, the riot gun.
And unloaded one full clip into him and he was out.
Yeah, I just took the TMP and I think 2 clips took him down totally. Same thing with like any of the Gigantes, like a full clip, you're done.
Yeah. The one boss fight that I really did appreciate that they fixed was the Verdugo fight in the sewers, where you have to use the
liquid nitrogen.
Yes. So in the original, if you ran out of liquid nitrogen and you didn't have a rocket launcher, you were fucked. You couldn't kill it. This one, you could actually do damage without having to freeze him. So I ran out of liquid nitrogen, and I just started peppering him with the TMP until it went down.
And until your ammo went down, and he went down.
Dude, you have no idea how many times I went into boss fights with like half a clip of the Red 9, and that's it.
And that's one of the small peeves that I have with this game is that the crafting system from 7 and 8, I don't dislike the crafting system itself, but in making the pieces that you craft with incorporated into your regular inventory made it so that I had a full inventory of crafting supplies, but never the right amount to make the type of ammo that I wanted. And I was constantly out of ammo and out of inventory space because of the way that they made the inventory system. In 7 and 8, the crafting system works because none of those pieces are part of your regular inventory.
See, in Remake 2 and Remake 3, it works because you get the exact amount of items that you need to craft whatever all the time. So you will always find 2 for handgun bullets, 2 for shotgun, 2 for machine gun. Always. You're never going to be short one or the other. But this one being random did cost a lot of... You either have too much or too little.
I think a better way to do the system would have been for you to be able to upgrade ammo boxes. So that instead of 30 handgun ammo in a box, you upgrade it to 40, and now when you craft, it's sets of 40 instead of sets of 30. It lets you invest some money in making the ammo boxes bigger, up to maybe 100 or whatever, and you get 100 handgun ammo, 200, they just needed something because the crafting items kind of broke the inventory system with the attaché case. And I kept the fact that the large supplies take up 3 inventory slots is insane.
Yeah. And honestly, I had so many of those large ones that I just sold them. Most of the time I sold them. There were very few times where I actually had large and I used them.
Well, because gunpowder is so much more scarce than supplies.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to tell you about that briefcase. Auto-organize was outstanding.
Yeah, that.
Click that stick in, and it's gorgeous.
It's
all your like items just grouped together.
Like I was thinking, I'm not gonna use it. I'm just gonna manage it on my own. No, never managed it once. Once I saw press, L3 to organize.
Yeah, it's like, the first time you see it, it's like, oh, I don't have room for this item, and you hit auto organize, and then you're like, oh, it just added it to my inventory because I did have space for it.
I think I bought the broken butterfly, and it was like, oh, you don't have any space. I hit auto organize, and the perfect space for it, it just showed up. Like it actually took the gun from like the side where it's holding and put it in the case,
and it puts it in there automatically. It's a brilliant system.
and I'm like, I got it, and then it asks me, do you want to purchase this item? I was like, yes, it's already in my fucking case. Why are you asking?
No, it's really well done. The inventory system, other than the crafting stuff being part of it, is, I mean, it's basically the same, but the auto organizes.
Yeah, and now
Fantastic.
you know we have a separate section for the treasures and shit. Like, why didn't we just get one for crafting items?
Oh yeah,
Like, we could have just gotten one where you have like a keg of gunpowder and a keg of, I don't know, a bucket of parts that you could use to make all of these things, but they decided to put it in the attaché case, which,
I mean, I think another thing they could have done is allowed you to break down ammo into gunpowder
yeah,
and supplies and turn it into other types of ammo. Like, take a shotgun shells apart if you know you're not going into a shotgun heavy section, and turn it into handgun ammo, or turn it into TMP ammo. Or
I found myself finding a lot of bolts and mines.
that thing is useless.
I used it. It's like I think I put it on Discord where I used the bolt gun once to kill a chicken, and as soon as I killed the chicken, I sold the bolt gun. It's like
I used it for the shooting gallery, and that was it.
But yeah, like there were a couple of moments in the castle where I found bolts and I found mines, and I just went back and sold them. Like if there was an option to break them down for parts, that would have been great. Because
Yeah,
the bolts are made out of knives, and I don't want to use my combat knife. If I find a kitchen knife or a boot knife, I was going to use that.
yeah. I the other pet peeve for me was with the knife. The fact that 2 hours before the end of the game, you beat Krauser, you get Krauser's knife, and it's just not leveled up
See, and the thing
in
is,
any way. And it's thousands, tens of thousands of dollars to each level of each thing to level it up.
so and the thing is that once I got to that Krauser fight, like I had my knife like leveled all the way up.
Me too. Leveled all the way up.
And I see his knife, and his knife is like .90, and my full knife is 1.0. So I upgraded it once, and it already surpassed my regular knife. I was like, you know what? I'm fucking selling it. I don't need this shit. So I sold it and kept Krauser's knife. And like the thing that I liked is that the first time that you see Krauser, he's like twirling his knife and talking shit to Leon, and they like he kind of like goes away, and I think to myself, I'm gonna take his fucking knife. And then in the end, they let you take his knife. And I was like, yes, I'm gonna kill so many people with this knife. That just felt like full circle, just because his knife was way cooler than Leon's
The knife is so much more useful than it's ever been in this game.
in the
You
series.
know, it's just so much more useful in the series. Yeah. Yeah.
No, man, I tell you,
Now, you were playing on PS5, right?
Mhm. I was.
Yeah, and I played on Series X. I only had, I reset the game and it fixed it. I have pictures of it. All the grass in the game disappeared for me at one point. And so it was fine when I was in the maze because there's no floor, but there's walls. But I got to the island and I was like, where's the ground? Where do I go? I can't tell what I can. Am I supposed to climb here? I reset the game and it totally fixed it. But that's the only problem I had. Everything looked good to me except for hair and water.
See, the one thing that looked weird for me was, you know, when you shoot that El Gigante with the cannonball, and you cave half of his face in. After that, there's like a little group of ganados that you can shoot with the cannonball, and I shot them.
You get an achievement called overkill or something.
Yeah,
like that.
so I got the achievement, and I saw that one of them was still moving. So I'm just sitting there, just shooting the fucking cannonball, and it just keeps moving. I decided to get off and go and see what the fuck was going on. And when I got there, it was his clothes, like his robe was freaking out. It was just moving all over the place. And then I noticed that every time that I killed one of the robed guys and they fell like on a vertical surface and had part of their body on a flat surface, their clothes would freak out.
The only other little glitches that I had are sometimes a dead body, like the plagas would wiggle out of their neck after their body was still dead, and if you put on the infrared scope, they would still show up as alive. And then something weird happened. I was on a railing, and everyone I killed, their body would just start wiggling and just kind of slide off the edge of the railing. Like, they're just laying dead, and their body would just start vibrating and just kind of fall off the edge of the railing. See, it looked kind of funny.
See, now that you say that about the plagas thing, I did like that. When you would shoot off, like, a person's side, or, like, you would saw them in half, or, like, blow off their heads, like, little plaga tentacles would come out and just be wiggling.
Oh, yeah.
That was really cool.
Well, and that made the nights much easier in this one, is that you had something to aim at. You know, you had the plagas coming out of the shoulder to aim at. It
took me a very long time to figure out that you had to shoot him in the neck. I just kept shooting them in the head, because in the original, that's all you have to do, just blow their helmet off.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wasted my bullets shooting them in the head when I could have hit them in the neck.
Yeah, I think this one was paced better. I think this one, it didn't necessarily cut out parts that felt long in the first one. It just made them go faster. It gave you things to do in those spots, and it cut out a lot of backtracking. It trimmed the fat really well.
Yeah, it did.
It trimmed the fat really well.
It did. There was one thing that I wanted to touch on, and it was that this time, whenever you shoot an enemy or you kill an enemy and they fall off into a void, let's say they fall off a bridge and they go into like the ocean or whatever, they don't take their items with them. When you hit them that last shot and they fall, the item spawns in the spot where they were last at.
Mm-hmm. I noticed that with the bugs.
I really liked that. I appreciated that a lot, especially with the bugs, because in the original, if you shoot the bugs out of the sky and they fall into the void, you lose that gem that they're going to drop. I actually really like killing the bugs in this game. They were fun to me.
Man, once you get that infrared scope, though, it's so much better, because you don't get a rock attacking you.
Yep. I would just shoot anything that looked buggish.
I liked how, because in the original, they just turn invisible.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of takes you out of it. I like that in this one, it's more of a camouflage. Yeah. You know, they look like a rock, or they look like part of the wall, or, you know.
See, in the original, it was whenever they closed their eyes, they could go invisible. So you wouldn't know that they were there unless you saw the shimmer. And that really annoyed me in the original. So I really like that in this one. They can't do that. I would rather deal with a rock than with an invisible asshole.
Mm-hmm. I will tell you the worst enemy in the game, and I know we've discussed this, the worst enemy in the game, without question, are bear traps.
Oh, man. Fucking bear traps. You said that they spent the entire budget on bear traps.
It's true, though, man. Half that budget had to go to bear traps. I must have walked into 700 bear traps in this game.
Easily. And, like, even at the end of the game, when you're storming the compound trying to get to Ashley,
you're like, I'm done with bear traps.
It's like, nope.
That's in the village.
Like, nope, you avoid the landmine, but you're going to hit the bear trap.
Yep, and I walked into a field and I was like, oh, there's a bunch of bear traps. I see them. I'm going to disarm them. And I aimed at a bear trap, but I had to back up to get just the right, walked into a fucking bear trap.
It's great. This game, dude, like, I feel like this game had the perfect level of trolling, because it didn't even feel like it was mean-spirited. It felt like, oh, you're stressed out? Here's a bear trap. Fuck you. It's so great. It was so good.
Yeah.
There were two parts that they cut out entirely that I'm not sure if I'm disappointed or relieved or indifferent to it. But one of them was the U3 fight, which was in the containers that would fall. And it was a time fight. That whole fight was out. I don't in the original. I don't mind that fight. What I mind is after all the containers fight, you actually have to fight the thing, and it has a one hit kill where it grabs you and slices you in half. So I think I'm a little bit disappointed that that part was in there because I feel like it would have amped the horror factor a lot having a thing chase you around. All right, Zoom cut us off, so I have no idea where I was.
You were talking about the U3 fight.
The U3 fight. I don't know. Kind of. Oh, again, having it chase you in the dark in these graphics, I feel like it would have added a lot of horror to it. I would have liked to see that. I were you scared or?
I mean, I can't say I've ever really gotten scared of a game, but this one definitely had more atmosphere. It definitely had more of a sense of paranoia to it. Like, the biggest example off the top of my head is after you've gotten to the lab and you've faced off against some of the spiky
The Iron Maidens.
dudes, whatever the Iron Maidens, first of all, their movement is so much more unsettling in this one.
Really?
I don't know if you knocked a leg off and watched them slither across the ground. It's so much more unsettling. I loved what they did with the body bags.
That I did find creepy.
From the ceiling, and you just have to walk through them, and you can walk through that hallway like 7 times, but on that 8th time, one of those bags is going to open on the bottom, and one of those is going to slither out.
See that part like near the end where it's that little room with a bunch of body bags, and there's 3 of them in there. I had to do that twice because I forgot one medallion on top of the building. So I had to...
Oh, the blue medallions?
Yep, yeah. I had to reload the file, take the medallion, and then go back into that room and do the whole thing again. And I tell you, like, the last one, I completely ran out of bullets. So I just used all of the bullets that I had left trying to take its head out after it turned into the Iron Maiden. Oh, dude.
Now, the nice thing about they added an extra SMG in this one.
Mm-hmm. The MP5.
The TMP is not the only one. The MP5 is great because you can put the thermal scope on the MP5 and use that too, which is nice.
Yep.
And that's another thing we haven't even talked about. You talked about medallions. I love the side missions.
They were great. The treasure collecting was great too. Like I was willingly backtracking. Like it at points the game felt like a Metroidvania to me. It was fucking great.
Yeah. The only thing about it that sucks is there was some treasure hidden behind a paywall. Some of the treasure was only available if you bought the collector's edition DLC that has an extra treasure map with it. And I don't like that.
I didn't know about that until you said it on Discord, but man, that's shitty.
I don't like that.
That's shitty. And you can't defend it like you can somewhat defend a Callisto Protocol $10 death pack. Because you can at least buy the season pass and you can say, oh, I got extra deaths when I bought the season pack.
And look, if the treasures existed, but the map made them easier to find, I could deal with that. But the fact that until you get the map, the treasures aren't there, that's the bullshit to me.
To be honest, I feel like I had enough money to get what I wanted the entire game. I didn't feel like I had to sacrifice one for the other or sell something that I needed to get enough money for whatever. I felt like I always had enough.
I will say that I felt like the value of selling upgraded weapons was much more fair in this one than in the original. In the original, you get a fraction of nothing for your upgraded weapons. In this one, you don't get as much for the weapon itself, but you get all your upgrade money back, which is really nice.
Like the knife, when I sold the knife, I think it was like $168,000
Mm-hmm.
So pesetas or gold coins or whatever it's called. So yeah, that you do get a good amount of money back. Like when I sold the broken butterfly, I did get some pretty good money back. And when I sold the TMP with the attachment, I did get some good money as well.
Well, and the Spinel things being a separate currency is nice. Having its own menu or whatever, that you trade it in and get more rare items, more, I thought that was cool too.
It was cool, but I feel like it didn't last enough. Like midway through the game, I feel like I bought everything cool that Spinel shop had, except for the treasure maps.
I bought all the treasure maps. That made finding
Oh
treasure
yeah.
so much easier.
Oh hell yeah. Yeah. There was a couple of treasures that I didn't get. There was the one with Ashley and the armors. I didn't use all the fucking keys, so I lost all of those treasures. And there was one in the village that got blocked by a tree that I couldn't get. Other than that, I pretty much got everything. And man, the quests were so great. There was only one quest that I hated, and it was the one where you had to go kill the dog in the courtyard. Because you get like Super Dog and then his three little dog
Oh
buddies.
yeah.
That one sucked. The rest of them were great.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, there were two of those like go back and find a boss
There
things. One was the dog in the village, and the other was like the Super Iron Maiden
and
in the lab
and the armor, the golden armor.
Oh, the golden armor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like 6 other knights.
Yeah. I just used super grenades. I just started throwing.
Yeah, I just threw grenades and flash grenades. That was about it.
Yep, and took him out that way. But the Iron Maiden, I stood outside in the window and I just started sniping it, and I hit a bunch of them. I started with the one in the head because I knew that was the one that was going to give me the most trouble. And then when it turned around, it had like 2 lined up. So I took those 2 out.
And you can hit them both. Yeah.
And I had one left that I didn't hit, but it looks like I shot him so fast that last one didn't matter. So it just blew up. And
it's funny because I got done with that fight and I turned around and there's still one of them in one of the tubes. And I was like, you know what? And I went over and shattered it with my knife and just went ahead and killed him while I was there.
See, you were close. I was not. I was on the other side of the room sniping those fuckers in the tubes.
Yeah, it's I just think all around, I mean, this was a 10 out of 10 for me. Like, it was wholly satisfying. I feel like there's less and less games these days where when I put down the controller, I can't wait to play it again the next day.
Yeah.
There's becoming less and less of those games.
Yeah. One of those games where you go to bed and you're just thinking about the game. And when you wake up and you're thinking about the game.
Yeah. I think the last one for me for that, Control was a lot like that.
Control was a great game.
I couldn't wait to get back to it. Control, I really liked Hellblade. The Viking one with the sound.
I need to get back into that. I got to Surtur when you're doing the Trials of Surtur, and I stopped playing. I think I wasn't playing it with headphones. I was playing it, on normal TV speakers, and I think the combat pushed me off. But
the combat is really simplistic, but it the sound design really makes up for it.
Man, I think the last game that I had that feeling for was Cyberpunk.
Yeah, you got really into that.
Oh, dude, that game is so fucking good. It's fantastic. Yesterday, I got the notification on Facebook that I beat it a year ago. So
wow, it doesn't seem like it.
Yeah, so March 29th, 2022 is when I beat Cyberpunk with 84 plus hours. That was awesome. That was a great game. I still got to get it for Thrax so he can play it.
This is definitely a game that I'll come back to soon. I didn't want to jump right back into it. I wish Mercenaries mode had been available day one because I definitely would have jumped into that immediately.
Yep. I hope they really do the Assignment Ada or separate ways. Either or.
I wanted Assignment Ada so much
because that there's two. There's Assignment A and there's separate ways. Assignment A is the one where you're trying to get the Amber, and separate
Mm-hmm.
ways is the one where you're playing parallel to Leon's story.
Yeah, and you're Ada in the base,
You have
and you're seeing it all from another perspective.
and you have
I think that
to
would be cool.
you have to go ring the bell for Leon. You have to go shoot Sattler in the face when he's trying to kill Ashley and Leon after they get the parasites taken out. It's, dude, man, I hope that we get more content for this because
I do too.
I need more. Like I was playing it and I was like halfway through the game. I'm like, I think this is gonna become a yearly playthrough. Because usually I play 4 at least once a year, like all the way through.
I really think this doesn't give you a reason to go back to the original.
Not that you shouldn't, because the original is still pretty great.
The original is fantastic. I still think it's a phenomenal game. But I'm wondering how it will feel after playing this version. You know, you're gonna get to a part and be like, this takes forever. You know, this part. Why can't I move while I'm shooting?
Like when the statue's chasing you, it's like, why the fuck is the statue chasing me? Or like when you're having to do platforming while its hands are going like this up and down.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I forgot about that.
Oh,
and then
man.
the clock tower, and then
The clock
having
tower.
to shoot the bonds off of Ashley, and if you're just a hair off,
You kill
her, and you have to do the whole section over again.
Yep. I did really like that you didn't have to do that one puzzle with Ashley where you have to move the squares around. I hate that puzzle so much. It takes me forever to do, and I'm glad that they took it out.
I mean, it just seems like, and I read today that this is getting review bombed like hard by people who are like, it's not enough like the original, you know. To me, and I think the Dead Space remake did this, maybe not as well as this, but the thing that both of these remakes did right, it feels familiar while you're playing it. You feel like you know this world, you know the map, you know the characters, you know what you're in for. Whereas Dead Space stuck a little bit closer to the script, but updated the way the game plays, the way the characters feel. Resident Evil would almost pull the rug out from under you. You know, like, biggest example for me, the first time I laughed out loud in this game is when you're going into the cabin to find Luis, and you hear the banging, and you know that in the original
It was him banging against the door in
game,
the cabinet.
it's him banging against the cabinet. And so you go in, and it's a dude banging a hammer on the floor, putting nails in the floor. And you kill him, and you pull the nails up, and you go down in the hole, and Luis is there tied up in a bag. You know, and I laughed out loud. I was like, that's great. It got me comfortable. I knew what the next thing was going to be, and I went inside, and it subverted my expectations completely. And there were just a ton of like little teeny twists that you would be like, oh, I can't wait to see what's coming next. I know what's coming next. And you go in the room, and it's just slightly different, but it's perfect. It's like they're playing a little prank on you, you know? And that's what this game did the best. It made you feel the way you felt playing the first one, the original one, for the first time. But it also felt very new at the same time. That you were constantly running into things you weren't familiar with. Mm-hmm. You know, and it did it. It walked that fine line perfectly.
It's like that whole it's the village on the cliffside. Like, it's the exact same layout. You just start on the other side of the village, and you have to make your way to where you would start originally in the original game. That to me was brilliant because it gave you a whole new perspective, and that's a part that I like a lot in the original. And having it swapped, and then all of these enemies that are smarter and react different, and the weapons don't really feel that familiar. That turned it into a challenge. Like I struggled a little bit with that.
And I'm going to tell you, like, a game I played 1,000,000 times, I felt like I sucked ass with the weapons at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, definitely.
In the village, I was scrambling.
Yeah.
You know, like,
hey, the chainsaw dude caught me once. Like, he caught me from the back because I didn't pay attention and I was doing something else instead of moving. Like you have to keep moving at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, it is so freaking good. It's
My biggest, I know we talked about the boss that you wanted to be there. My biggest omission in this game is no wolf. I really wanted the wolf to be there.
you didn't get the wolf.
The wolf stuck in the bear trap.
You didn't save him.
I didn't see him. Period.
So, okay, in the village chief's
At
mansion.
the very beginning, before you even get to the village.
No. So when you're at the village chief's mansion, after he holds you up and Ada shoots him, and he walks away after he puts you down. Once you get out of the mansion, you go to the right, and the wolf is right there in a bear trap.
Nah, I didn't. I didn't see him at all.
So honestly, you missed a very epic introduction to the wolf because he's like on top of some rocks and he howls and like thunder crashes. It's really fucking
Wow.
cool.
I'll have to do that on the professional playthrough.
And then in the fight with El Gigante, all the wolf does is he bites him in the ankle was and makes him run into a wall so you can get
An extra hit on him, yeah.
a couple of good hits because he stays there for a while. So after that, the
Ah,
wolf is.
I'll look for that next time. I didn't see the wolf.
Like because I was dicking around looking for treasures and shit, and I hear him howling, and I'm like, "What the fuck? The wolf is here!" And I turn around, and the wolf is just right there.
I'll tell you the moment it was in the lead up 2 nights ago when I was finishing it. It crushed me. It crushed me. Is you're going through the compound, the base at the summit, and you're like, Mike flies away, and you're like, they're gonna let Mike live in this one. Nope.
He gets
Sorry,
roached to
Mike.
death.
He gets roached to death. Yep. Nope. I was like, man, no rocket launcher. They're gonna let Mike live in this version. Nope. Sorry, Mike.
You know, so I was talking to another podcaster, and he did. Actually, he's in the Discord. Keith from Main Quest. He did
Okay.
a whole series where he covers all of Resident Evil, and he covered every single entry, but he covered the remakes of the games because apparently the remakes are the new canon. So
That makes sense. So Resident Evil remake, the original remake, 2 remake, 3 remake, 4 remake.
yep, are all the canon ones. So I want to see where they're going because it kind of did feel a little bit disjointed when you played from 0 all the way to 6. Like they all didn't feel like they fit right, and some of the things were weird, and you didn't know what happened to certain things because some of the threads from 4 that aren't tied up are tied up in the movies, in the animated movies.
Right. Which aren't very good. But
They're really not that good. And that one in the airport is terrible.
well, and also like if you didn't play Code Veronica, there are things about Claire that you don't learn.
Yep.
And there are, and 0 feels disjointed because it came out after the first 3 games already existed,
Yep.
and it's kind of just retconning things.
Yep.
So I'm interested to see where they go with it.
Like it
and
feels.
I'm interested to see if they connect it to 7 and 8 in a different way than the originals connected to 7 and 8.
Because it feels like they're cleaning up a bunch of stuff, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I wish Kingdom Hearts would do that.
One of the things that they have not explained that you learn in 7 and that you learn in 8, no, you learn it in 8, not in 7, is that Chris works for Umbrella now, and that the bad guys are the original are stars now.
Oh, BSAA.
And you don't know why that switch has flipped, after Wesker's gone.
Yeah.
So I'd love to see them start to connect that story and show why Chris turned around and now Umbrella is who he works for. I'd love to see them connect that thread.
I haven't played the DLC for 8. I played 8, and at the end, he's like, oh, "Why the fuck are these people bioweapons? They should be regular soldiers." Do they touch on that at all on
The
the?
DLC is completely about Rose.
Okay.
And it is basically Rose, a guy that she meets tells her that she can get rid of her powers and become a normal person by doing this dream therapy. And she goes into her mind to try and, I don't know, they found this crystal that's got the mother, whatever her name, Miranda spirit in it, and you have to go into this dream world. And so what they do is they kind of take the set pieces from 8 and twist them a little bit, make them a little more dreamlike, and you play through those sections as Rose. It's all in third person. So more traditionally, they're using that third person engine that was in the update for 8, but it's more about Rose, and it much more concludes Rose's story. Because they said that what they wanted to do with that DLC is close out the Winters chapter of Resident Evil. So I'm guessing the next Resident Evil will be starting fresh with another character, possibly Chris. So we'll see.
And maybe they'll give us the proper Chris and Leon meeting that we needed, because the 1 and 6 sucked. They pointed guns at each other and then they ran away from each other. That was terrible.
Yeah, 6 to me, look, the gameplay's not bad. Like it feels fine when you're playing it, the shooting and stuff.
Yeah, but when you're doing
the fact that you have to keep continuously fighting the same bosses over and over and over again, and the fact that the game's like 30 hours long because you got to play 3 stories plus a bonus story, it gets to be too much.
Yeah,
it's too much.
Like, and honestly, the whole chaos and destruction that happens in 6, the aftermath hasn't been explored at all. I would love to see what the world has turned into after all that insanity, because when that game happens, you've had Raccoon City, you've had the village in Spain, you've had whatever the hell's happened in the movies, plus you've had, I think, Revelations 1, where a whole cruise ship was a freight liner for fucking Umbrella to transport their bioweapons all over the world. I would like to see more of what the world has turned into afterwards.
Well, and 7 doesn't really address that.
No.
8 doesn't really address that. It seems like the world's gone back to normal. Because in 7, Ethan doesn't know anything about Raccoon City or anything like that. So clearly it's all been covered up,
But how can they cover up blowing up all of China because it's covered in bioweapons? Because right,
6 never happened.
I mean, that's a good fix for it. So another thing that I just remembered that they cut out from the game was the whole Egyptian kind of area underground.
Yeah, they kind of half made the Krauser area that, but they made it seem like more of an excavation area that he rigged up, with traps and stuff, which was actually part of that Egyptian area or whatever. But they cut out all the tents and all the, that stuff because it was much more about the amber.
Yeah. So I really missed. Okay, I feel like there weren't enough chainsaw dudes to fight. And
yeah, that's probably true.
And there were only one set of chainsaw sisters. When in the original, you have 2 sets of them.
Yes. And one thing I was happy about was a lot less, they did it about twice, but a lot less like, look, it's a door and it has a 3-part key. And you're going to go this way and get this part. And you're going to go this way and get this part. And you're going to get... There was a lot less of that. That really trimmed the backtracking.
Wasn't there just...
There was the one where you get the 3 heads.
Yeah, that's the one, right?
And then there's the one where you have to take the boat and get the 2 hands... Or the 2 heads to put on the 2 hands.
See, I like that they did that because it forced you to explore the lake. Because in the original, you had the option to explore the lake, but
there's no reason to do it
other than treasures.
Everything about the lake was better
Yeah.
in this
And
one,
like the fact that you get the red 9 in
except
the
the
middle
water.
of the I don't know how it looks on Xbox, but it looked fine on PS5, dude.
I mean, the water looks fine when it's still, and it doesn't look as bad as it just moves in a weird not water
I
way.
see.
You know,
Hey, maybe it has Plagas in it.
that's true. I'm thinking about that.
Yeah.
Or maybe they put some of that stuff you use at nursing homes to thicken up the water for people with aphasia.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I see it all the time because when I order from at work, I'm a procurement clerk, so I work for a university, and so we get all this like industrial stuff, and so they have a thing that you can put in. Like people with aphasia have trouble swallowing, and they can like drown. So you have to make the water thicker, so you can get it to where it's there's 3 different levels. There's syrup nectar, which makes it about like a maple syrup.
Nectar.
There's honey. There's honey thickness, which makes water honey thick, and then there's one that makes it like full on gelatin thickness. Like it has no taste; it's just water, but it's hard like Jello.
God, that just sounds worse and worse.
Yeah,
It's water Jello. Like, oh God, I didn't know about that. That's. I wouldn't want to try that.
Yeah, they sell it as apple juice, orange juice, all that kind of stuff.
Wow, that.
So maybe that's in the lake.
Maybe that's in the lake.
But the only other thing that I think didn't look that great is hair just doesn't move at all on anybody.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. One other thing that I really did like is the El Lago boss. You can actually tell that it's a giant salamander and not just
yeah,
a blob that's fish looking like.
mm-hmm.
So I really like that part. Seeing a giant fucking salamander flying over Leon was
I really liked what they did with the bosses.
Oh man, so much better.
The Salazar fight is so much better.
No, it is not. Original. That fight sucked. That fight's
great.
That fight can eat a dick. I hated it.
I liked it so much more than just standing there waiting for a dude to open his mouth, shoot him a couple times, run around, wait for him to open his mouth, shoot him a couple times.
Oh no,
great fight.
No, like I have no idea how he made it out of that fight. Actually, I have no idea how I made it out of a bunch of those fights. Because like I said, I would go in without any bullets, and somehow I would find enough to get me through the fight. But I also think that the game does the same thing that 2 Remake did, that they scaled the bosses to the amount of ammo that you have. So you always have just enough.
And I'll tell you, I actually, in the final fight, I took out a bunch of those eyes with the knife. Like if you get up close to them, take those front ones out with the knife, it's not that hard to hit them, and it saves you a bunch of ammo. Although in the last fight, there's ammo everywhere.
Especially when the roaches start flying in and you're taking them out left and right with one bullet. You get a shit.
I was actually surprised that there weren't bear traps everywhere in that last fight.
They ran out of the budget there.
Yeah.
That I'm glad that they really didn't fix that fight, because the fight was literally the same as in the original, except that they added the ability for him to swipe his throat at you.
Well, they did change it a little bit in that you didn't have to keep constantly like using the crane to knock him off a platform or whatever.
I mean, but that was optional if you wanted to do extra damage. All you had to do was literally just shoot him in the mouth in the original.
Yeah, they made the space a lot easier to navigate. I think in this one they made it a lot bigger. There was more platforms, and it's a lot easier to get from platform to platform in this one.
Yep. I am wondering though, is it gonna be a thing from now on that every final boss after you kill the first form has a giant fleshy mass that you have to kill afterwards?
But you don't kill it. You watch it killed in a cutscene.
Yes, but 2 Remake did it with Mr. X. No, with Birkin. He chases you at the end on the train. Nemesis did it, where he turns into that giant flesh monster that you have to shoot with
Well,
the railgun in the mouth, which was fucking epic. And
I guess that all started with Zero, really.
Zero
With
did that?
the last boss in Zero is you're riding the train fighting what's his face, the owner of the mansion, the Spencer or whatever. Yeah. He's turned into a great big biomass and you're riding the train out and you gotta hit him on the way out.
Huh.
So and then 8 did it, or
Yeah.
not 8, 7 did it. Well, 8 did it too.
8
but
did
7 did it first. 7 had it where you're hanging upside down and you have to shoot the satellite laser gun.
What the fuck? I need to play that game.
Yeah. And 8 did it.
Yeah.
You know, it's just become a Resident Evil thing.
Yeah, 8 did it as Ethan was fading away into spores. He manages to destroy the giant fetus monster.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Resident Evil bosses have to become crazy creatures, and they got to have eyeballs everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere. Man, that would be Carradin's worst nightmare.
Eyeballs and bear traps everywhere.
Eyeballs and bear traps. Ah, man, but there's so much more to say about the game. Like, we didn't even touch on the sound design and the graphics. I feel like the lighting in the game was good, but it wasn't as good as the lighting in Callisto Protocol. There were times where I was playing Callisto Protocol that the lighting was so well done that it actually bothered me. Like, whenever there were like flashing lights, like strobing, I would feel it bothering me. Like if I was in a room and the lights were actually strobing, because it would do darkness very well and lighting very well. But this one,
that didn't come out on last gen though, right?
What, Callisto?
Yeah.
No, actually, no, it didn't. It's all current gen.
So I'm thinking that might have had a different, might have made a difference because with Resident Evil 5 coming out on PS4, I'm sure that they had to pull some things back so they didn't have to make 2 different games.
That makes sense.
Yeah, Callisto Protocol's on my rental queue. I think it's like number 5 or something.
It's like
it's coming up.
It's like 12 hours long. It's like a weekend game. I think it's worth it. I personally really like it.
I'm looking forward to it.
But when you get it, just, it's a weekend game. It's really short, simple, easy, fun. The Sam Witwer is in it. Fucking love everything that dude is in. And it's the soldier dude. The main character is the soldier dude from Transformers. So, pretty decent game. But yeah, no. So, anything else you want to say about Resident Evil 4? Anything else you want to bring up?
No, I mean, I really think it's better in almost every way than the original. The atmosphere is much more tense. The mechanics take some getting used to, but once you get them in, it fits like a glove. It makes combat easy. It gives you more ways to defend yourself, more ways to avoid attacks, that kind of thing. I'm a huge fan. Like I said, I think it's a 10 out of 10 game. Like, I just really, it's very weird where we're in March and 2 out of my 3 favorite games of the year so far have been remakes. But
Dead Space and this one.
I really like Dead Space. I like this one. I think I'll like Prime Remastered too when I play that. So like,
man, such a good fucking game.
My other game in my top 3 right now is Hi-Fi Rush. It was just so good.
I need to continue that. I think I did the first boss fight, that giant robot dude in the factory, and I got to continue that. So that there's a lot from Resident Evil 4 Remake that I really like. I am a sucker for lore, and this game gives you a shit ton of lore. Like, there are diaries everywhere of people writing down what happened to people when they started transforming. Like, El Gigante was just like, somebody was pregnant, they gave it the plaga, the baby was born the size of almost an adult, and it just kept growing and growing. And the person writing says, like, in 4 months of age, like, it eats a whole cow in 3 days. Like they're gonna have to put it to sleep, otherwise they're all gonna run out of food. And the thing is that they do put it to sleep, and when you run past the area where he's sleeping, you can hear him snoring.
Mm-hmm.
So that, man, so freaking good. It's so fucking good.
What made this game great is the details, and the people that worked on it had a fundamental understanding of what made the original great, and they just took it and added details to it. I think that's what did it.
That team that they have working on these remakes, it is just so talented, and they know what they're doing. Like all of these remakes have been excellent, except for 3. But 3 is because it's 3. That game is not great to start with.
The original game is my least favorite of the original trilogy.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, it's cool to see Jill pick up the railgun and blow off Nemesis' head with it. That shit was fucking metal. I can see that all day, but
yeah, I'd love to see what they do with 5. I'd also love to see what they can make with an original IP, or dig out an old Capcom IP or something. Make me a Beautiful Joe game or something.
Oh, dude, give me a new Onimusha. That would be great.
Oh yeah, for sure. This team would be great to make an Onimusha with.
Yeah, and then keep it like the original. Slow paced. Think about what you're doing. Don't make it a fucking Soulsborne, because that would really put off a lot of people. And bring in a bunch of new people that are into those type of games. But yeah,
even if this team made a remake of Dino Crisis, I'd be down with that too.
Yes, I would be down with that. I can just picture the way that the bullets feel being shot out of the gun and hitting people in Resident Evil. How they would feel translating that into dinosaurs would be so good. Oh man, it's such a fucking great game. It's 10 out of 10. It's fantastic. If you're on,
absolutely 10 out of 10.
If you're on the fence about getting it, or if you're a purist like I was, you are going to be very disappointed at how great it is, because it is fucking incredible. But it's quickly going to become your favorite version of the game.
Yeah, you're going to be surprised at how much of what you love is still there, but how much it consistently continues to surprise you.
Yeah, and the cheese is still there. Leon's one-liners, they're different, but they're still there.
Ashley has one-liners.
Yes, she does. She does.
I'm like the master of unlocking. She says that in the game.
She does. Somebody modded her hair off, and she still has the ears. The giant, massive ears. She still has them. It's great. Like, everything about the game is fantastic. Well, Champ, it's been great having you on. Thank you for coming and talking.
Been great being here.
Talking Resident Evil. Looks like we have 3 minutes before Zoom kicks us off. Anything you want to plug or promote or talk about?
Nothing that I don't really have much of an internet presence outside of Discords. So, if actually I do have something to plug. I have some friends. They have a podcast called Tales of the Lesser Medium. They basically take a franchise and they cover it game by game, but they kind of are examining how ridiculous the stories to video games can get. And they have their own takes on the characters, and they make it really funny. So the first series they did was actually Resident Evil, and they've done Tomb Raider, Gears of War, Earthbound. It's called Tales of the Lesser Medium. It's on the Polymedia Network, and it's a great time. They cover the 0 through 3 of Resident Evil, and it's funny. Barry is actually in the mansion because he's looking for a place to take a shit. They really turn it on its head. It's a good time.
I'm gonna listen to it because that sounds like a perfect show for me. It's comedy plus lore dumps. I'm all over that
I'll
shit.
send you a link.
Yeah, I'm all over that. I am definitely listening to that. So that's it for this episode of Games and Stuff. More are coming soon, and you'll see them when you'll see them. Thank you for listening, everyone. You want to say goodbye, Champ?
Bye.
Goodbye, everyone.